welcome to the Creative Constitution podcast. Today, I'm joined by a very special guest, Rodrigo Badoino, and he is an awesome filmmaker. And today's episode is going to be so interesting. Hello, Rodrigo.
Hello, Deborah. How's it going? Thanks for having me on.
Oh, I'm super pumped. Well, today's episode is all about creating opportunities for yourself as a filmmaker. So Rodrigo's got an awesome experience where he's created 20 films in a row, one a week, short film marathon. And that is just super impressive, especially when you know how long it takes to create the film, shoot the film, edit. Oh gosh, it just goes on.
It's wild. Yeah, it was a crazy time.
I don't know how you did it, but first of all, tell me a little bit about yourself, Rodrigo. Where did it all begin?
Okay, so I started making films. I finished school, and I was like, I really want to be an actor, right? The classic. I was like, I don't want to go to uni. I don't want to do the things. I want to act. And then I auditioned for film schools, to acting schools. Didn't get into any of them. And so then my parents were kind of like, well, you got to do something. You can't just do nothing, loitering at home. So I was like, I'm going to go to film school. And then from film school, I'll, transition into acting. And then once I stepped into my first film school, I fell in love with, being behind the camera instead of in front of it and directing specifically. And it all kind of kickstarted from there. And that was back in 2013. I started making music videos here in Perth. Built a bit of a reputation making those here, and then I was like, I felt a bit stunted by Perth. I was like, it's just the community's not as big, and I wanted to try and go to somewhere where I could have the most opportunity, and that's when I went to Sydney, and I studied film school again. I went to a second film school again in Sydney because I thought it'd be a great place to meet like-minded people, even though the first semester was very similar to everything I'd just done in Perth. And then from there, just kind of started working. I started chipping away, editing jobs, directing jobs, and it got all the way to the point now where, got to work on an Ed Sheeran music video, which was amazing.
Yeah, that's so
cool. Which is phenomenal. But it's been a long road. I mean, I've been doing this for about 10 years now, and I'm just interested to see where the next 10 years brings, I guess.
Yeah. What was your goal when you sort of first started? I mean, obviously you did the acting, but when did you start sort of visualizing yourself as a director and the goal with that?
I started pretty much like within the first 2 weeks. I remember we did one course where we got given a script, and then 2 actors came in and they sat down, and what the directing lecturer kind of came in, and just seeing how, he would give them direction, and then it would completely change the feel of a scene. And even though, before I was so enamored with wanting to be the one that would make the acting choices to make it, but then seeing how he could dictate and change, and then how the actors were responding, I was like, wow. And then obviously that then being translated onto the screen and getting edited, and then how then that again changes and how you can manipulate things and control things. I was like, this is crazy. I've always really liked telling stories, and I felt like this was the ultimate form of being able to do that.
Yeah, that's amazing. And where did the short film marathon idea come from?
Well, so Shambleton, which is the title for the short film marathon, that started because I'd written a feature film the year prior, and we were trying to make it cheap. We were like, okay, we're going to set a target. We're going to try and get it done for like 30, 40 grand. We'll work really hard. So I was there typing away, writing. And then I sent it to the actors that we wanted to cast, and then they came back and they were like, we don't like it.
Oh gosh.
And it was really disheartening, and it was like, okay, great. And then, we had other films, other projects that I'd written that we were trying to get up, but, they required a bit more money, and it was quite difficult. It's very difficult to get a movie made in Australia, especially when you're first starting out. So we kind of just came out of the necessity to create. We were like, do you know what? Me and my business partner, Michael, who is the star of the show, like this really only works because the two of us committed the time to just be like, okay, you're going to be in front of the camera, I'm going to be behind the camera, we'll do all the post-production together, and we're just going to set ourselves this challenge, and we're just going to get it done. And so that's where Shambleton was born. When that film died, Shambleton rose from the ashes, and we just set a goal, we set a target, and we were like, all right, we're going to try and do as much as we can. And see how much we learn and how it evolves. And yeah, it was crazy.
It's insane to think that you guys did one a week. Like, Okay, so tell me, how did that work? Because I think a lot of filmmakers are like, oh, okay, maybe we can do one a month, but one a week.
Yeah.
Tell me about that. Were they all like 30-second clips or like 5 minutes? How did you go about shooting it?
Yeah, so the episodes are anywhere between 5.5 minutes to like 12 minutes long.
Wow.
When we first started, we were like, we're going to improv. So season 1, what we call the first 10 episodes, we kind of like shot the first 3 episodes before we released them so that we had them banked. So then that way we weren't like always trying to play catch up, even though it eventually led to that as time kind of took a hold. Because at the same time that we're doing this, we have our jobs where we're making money. So it was trying to balance it, but it was literally just like one light. I would plug myself in with my sound recorder with lapel microphones, so no boom, and then I'd operate the camera, and then we would just improv. We would improv the show. So we'd be like, okay, so we know that �𝐿𝐒, the character, is here, and we're introducing this other character called Tammy, and she's just going to destroy his life, essentially. So we need a scene that represents that. And so then the actors would riff, and then we'd be like, great, that's awesome, and then we'd shoot that, and I'd just get really basic coverage, and then that's we kind of built from there. And then slowly, as we kept going, we were like, oh, do you know what, maybe we can build a bit of a storyline here. So then we started writing some scripts, a bit like Curb Your Enthusiasm, where like none of the dialogue was written, but it was just like the actions of like, all right, 𝐿𝐒, we start the scene with 𝐿𝐒 being at home, and then this character comes in and disrupts him. It's always about 𝐿𝐒 getting disrupted. The beautiful thing about the show is that it's just like, how can we torture this character?
I love that. How did you go about sort of, I mean, obviously improv is already a big challenge. So how did you go about working with the actors on that improv? Was there a lot of going back and forth, or did you sort of go with the first few takes and then keep moving on and sort of build on that?
It was kind of like, I think the process was very like old school film, where like we wouldn't really be rolling cameras. Even though we were shooting digital, we shot the whole show on a Blackmagic Pocket 4K. Even though we had like endless hard drives that we could just roll on. Well, the way we would kind of do it would be like, well, this is the scene we want, and then we'd let them play for a little bit, and then we'd do all our tweaks. So then that way, when we started getting the cameras rolling, it was like 1 or 2 takes. It was very rare for us actually to go above like 3 or 4 takes, because we're also trying to shoot really quickly. And I guess the structure of the show was literally like, we'd shoot it in one day. Like whatever the episode was, we have to try and get it done in the one day, and then we'd give ourselves 1 day to edit everything, and then 1 day to sound design, and then that's it. Like, and then it goes out. It was kind of like a done, not perfect.
Yeah. Did you do most of the posts as well, or did you have a team collaborating with you?
No, I did most of the posts as well. So Michael, who was 𝐿𝐒 in the show, he would do the sound design, and then I'd do the editing, and it kind of helped like being there, directing them and shooting it. I kind of, going into the edit, I was like, well, I remember this take here was really great. And I remember this take here was really cool. And I know that I got this special shot for this particular moment. So once those decisions were made, then it was just about filling in the gaps in between that to fill out the episode. And that taught me a lot in terms of narrative editing, shooting, coverage, like, even though we started making 𝐓𝐿𝐒 when I was like, I'd already had 9 years of experience making music videos, short films, commercials, brand movies, documentaries, all the, once you're in there trying to make improv narrative work, and trying to make it like a movie, you learn so much again. And it's like, it just kind of highlights the fact that we're always students in this industry.
Yeah.
We'll always be learning.
You get better every time, that's for sure. With the editing of the improv, were there many sort of like cut issues where maybe the dialogue wasn't matching up and things like that?
There was a couple,
that was the story of my life.
There was definitely a couple instances where I was like, oh man, what have we done? I don't know if this is gonna work, and we just had to like cut around certain moments. But majority of the time, I'm very lucky that I'm really good friends with a lot of really great actors, and so once they kind of had locked in the improv, they were really good at just coming back and doing something similar. The hardest part, to be honest, was trying to pick which joke to keep in and which one ended up on the floor. It's like there were so many moments where you're just losing it laughing. It's so funny, but it's like you can only pick the one.
Yeah. So after it all was finished and you had your 20 episodes, why stop at 20? Did the story end? Did you have a better opportunity come up? What happened?
Yeah, so it started getting a little difficult. We set the challenge. We were like, we're going to do it for a year, and then we'll reassess at the end of that year and see what comes from it. And then nearing the end of the year, due to making so much narrative content, I got approached by an old friend of mine, �𝐿, who had been contacted by House Party, Christopher Elder there, to go and make an Ed Sheeran music video. And because of all this narrative experience and so much narrative cutting, and then we're making 3 narratives in one 4-minute music video, they were like, I think you're the guy for the job to come in and edit this, which was awesome. An awesome opportunity to be on that set. And then to even throw an extra spanner in the works, they wanted me to edit it live because the turnaround time of it was so quick. So I was there on set, changing things around as they were happening, like cutting things around as they were happening. So that was insane. Wild.
That's crazy. Yeah. So walk me through, because I think it's probably like one of, I'm sure it's a filmmaker dream to work on like a celebrity music video. So what was it like? You get the phone call, you get the offer. What'd you feel in that moment?
It was just like, because I've made quite a few music videos to start, and I hadn't made a music video in so long. So when he was talking to me about it before giving me the offer, I was like, surely he's just telling me that he's, doing this. There's no offer coming. And then he was like, oh no, we want you to edit it. And I was like, wow. I remember just putting down the phone. I was at my friend's house and I was like, I think I'm going to be editing an Ed Sheeran music video. And they were like, oh my God. It was, we had a little celebration, but then after that, you kind of switch into work mode and you're like, okay, great. What does this entail? What preparation do I need to have to make sure that, I don't get caught with my pants down on set? There's nothing worse than, going underprepared to a big job and then things start going wrong and you don't have solutions. So it kind of kickstarted the trajectory of work. It was just like, all right, let's knuckle down. Let's get this right, because I really didn't have much time to get it. From the moment I got the job to the moment of being on set, I think it was like just over 2 weeks.
So what did you do in the lead up to the job?
So in the lead up, I had meetings with the director and the DP, and so they gave me the shot list and the story, and they were like, okay, do you think that everything is going to cut? And the director Chris was really like adamant. He wanted the verses to have their own section with the story, because there's 3 narratives, and pretty much every 16 seconds we were cutting to a different story. And some of them were filled out with a lot more shots than others. So within 16 seconds, there was one particular section that had like 12 shots. So even if you just break it down numerically, you're like, well, 12 shots, 15 seconds. We're kind of sitting on a shot like a second and a half.
Yeah.
if we're just putting them all evenly. So from there, once I got the shot list and we kind of agreed on how things were going to flow, I went and made like a previs using Shot Deck. So I got just a heap of stills and I just placed them in what I thought would be the accurate timings. And then I sent that off to the director and the DP and the producers. And then I just get feedback and they were like, okay, we think we're probably going to need a little bit longer here. I see this being a little bit shorter here. And so then by the end, we had like a previous idea of what the video would be like. And everything was numbered. Yeah. So then when we were on set shooting that shot, I knew roughly where in the timeline it would fit. And then that made it a lot easier. So that was the prep for that.
That's crazy. Was the Shot Deck idea something that you came up with, or was that something that they asked you to do?
No, that was something they wanted done. They wanted like a storyboard like edit. And I was like, oh, I'm a terrible drawer. So I was like,
I like those stick figures. Horrible. Ed Sheeran is gonna love them.
Yeah, I was like, I am terrible. So I knew they wanted that. So then I was like, I'll use Shot Deck to make it. Yeah. So then that way it can visually at least represent a bit better, because stick figures of a close up that I draw, people are just gonna be like, what is this?
How'd you find this guy? Yeah, for sure. That's crazy. Okay, so now we're the pre-production is sort of done. You're on the set. What happened then? So how often did you get the footage to then jump straight into the edit?
Straight away. So I had my own separate video split. This process, I thank Callum Riddell, the director of photography. He came up with it. And he was like, I think this is going to work. Neither of us had ever done this before. So it was a bit of let's shoot it and try. But we had an external Blackmagic recorder that would record into hard drives. And so I would record whatever the camera was recording. And then I'd have like alternating hard drives that I'd just swap. So then I would immediately get the take while they would then change setup. And then I'd put that into the timeline. And because of the Blackmagic recorder, I'd get all the information. So I'd get like the clip name, the time codes, everything. So then when I received the offlines at the end of the day, I could just swap
relink
out.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then until we got into the onlining.
Why don't we do that on every short film, on every feature?
To be honest, in my head, I was like, this is a game changer. Because we were able to, and I was just editing in front of everyone. Like I didn't have like my own little video village. I was just amongst the crew. So people could come in and watch the edit as it was happening. We just shot like a sequence and they could come in and see it like straight away. And it would help with like art department, for example. There were a couple times there where they were like, oh, we need continuity. Like where were the rings in the hand? And then I'd go to the take that we were using and we would be like, oh, the rings are here, here and here. Or they'd be like, oh, what shoes were they wearing? It's like, oh, we're not seeing the shoes, so it doesn't really matter. And then same with just like little things where it was like, oh, we have 2 seconds. So we need to get the facial expression or the emotion. We got to get it in that time. Like, because we don't really have, because then we're moving on to the next storyline. And so that really helped as well, when Chris would come in and he'd be like, okay, we're doing this shot next. How much time do we have? I'd be like, I'd even be specific. I'd be like, oh, we've got 3 seconds and 14 frames.
Yeah, because it's a whole different ball game when you're working with a very strict, obviously the song time is sort of your baseline. Totally. Rihanna and whatever, they always had like a you could do almost a short film before the song starts. So I guess you are a bit flexible there, but I would imagine that there was a strict, this is going to be 4 minutes 37. So we need to fit everything within that. Was that more like what your experience was?
Pretty much. I knew that we had 15 seconds, up to 15 seconds at the start before the song started. So just to like establish the video, which, I recorded the sound for that as well. I was just there. I had 5 minutes in between to just get my little boom mic out and get like a bike riding, a newspaper falling down and stuff like that. I knew that we had that kind of time frame. And then when the song ends, it just had like a really long tail. I think it had like 9 seconds of like almost silence as the song faded out. So we knew that we had that kind of space to then fill it up and round out the song, which is great. We made 3 short films essentially, or 3 storylines in this one video, which is very packed, very, very packed.
Yeah. So what was it like working with Ed? Did you get to talk to him much, or what was just sort of like the on-set experience?
So he wasn't on set, and I didn't, being the editor, I didn't get to chat to him at all. But he did repost the video. He did repost the video on his Instagram, and he's promoting it. And out of all the videos, because 14 music videos got released over the last 2 weeks for that whole album, our particular video is second in terms of views. I think we're up to like 340,000 views at the moment, and it got released like 10 days ago, which is great. And I also make a little cameo in the video as well. I don't know if you.
Cool!
I'm there smashing lamingtons as part of the eating competition.
Oh my god! I'm gonna have to look for that one. So which song was it? You'll have to.
It was Amazing. The song is called Amazing by Ed Sheeran. Yeah.
That's so cool. Guys, listeners, check it out. Watch it.
Yeah.
Take a screenshot, tag Rodrigo. I think I'm going to be doing that later.
Just my face just covered. It was so funny because we were on set and I was editing. I still had my editing duties as well as being the extra in the eating competition. So they covered my face in chocolate and like coconut, and because of continuity, they were like, don't wipe your face.
Oh my God. So you're editing.
Yeah, with a face just full of chocolate for like at least an hour. I was just there like, we'd finish a take, I'd grab the hard drive, I'd go put it in as they were changing the setup for the next shot, and then they'd call me over, they'd be like, hey, back on set now, we're ready to shoot. I'd run back, You know,
My
it's
gosh.
just so silly. The photos, the on-set photos from that day are hilarious.
That's so funny. So what happened after the music video came out and sort of all that happened? Did you get more opportunities from that music video after it all finished?
I mean, it's only been out for 10 days. I did get I got a call from the Sydney Morning Herald. They wanted to talk about the experience, which was nice and cool. And at the moment, I'm trying to use that experience of on-set editing, and I'm trying to create like a list of like where would it work and where would it not, so that then I can try and promote that as a service as well, because it was incredibly helpful and very interesting. And also, usually with editing, you know, you're in a dark room with either yourself and the director or the producer, or sometimes not even, you know, they're not even there. You're just kind of editing by yourself. So being able to like be on set and gauge everyone's reactions live, so like cutting it live and they're all coming in and seeing it, and then sometimes you can be like, oh, do you know what, that edit felt a bit weird now that they've seen it, and then you can make the change then and there, which then affects what's coming next. And I thought it was fantastic, and I really do see it working for like anything with a structured shot list in terms of timing. So like music videos, commercials, short films, features, TV shows. I do really think that it would work.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's such a genius idea. I mean, when you think about just how long something takes to edit, especially a short film or feature film, that can take up to a year, you know? I mean, even just, I was telling you earlier, my short film took months to edit, and we only just picture locked it literally last week, and you have a similar experience. So go on, Rodrigo, tell us about that one.
I do. So prior to making Shambleton, I had been sitting on this short film for like almost 4 years, and I'd just keep going back to it, and I'd keep tinkering, and it was only 12 minutes long. I've made Shambleton episodes longer than this particular film, and it just took a long time, and I'm thankful for the time that it took, because I feel like I learned a lot in that time. But also I was like, never again. I can't take 4 years. 4 years for 12 minutes just economically just does not really work.
Yeah. So why did it take so long? I mean, like, were you overthinking some of the shots? I mean, it happens. Look, you're not the only filmmaker,
Totally.
and you're not going to be the last. But what was your reason for it?
Well, so we made the movie right when the bushfires were happening in like 2019. And then, or end of 2018 into 2019. And then the goal was to try and get it finished for the end of 2019. I was like, oh, I'll have a year. And then COVID happened. And then that really just disheartened, you know, because I wanted to attend festivals. I didn't want to do the virtual stuff. So I was like, so I just kind of like shelved it. And then I'd pick it up every 3 months, and I'd go and I'd tinker with it, and I'd be like, oh, do you know what? This works better now if I remove this. And, you know, it probably suffered from over editing, to be honest. But yeah, and then by the time COVID had all like been up and like had been done and things were picking back up, I was like, I kind of felt like I had this monkey on my shoulder, and I was like, I gotta finish it. I can't just let this sit with me forever. And I'm really glad that I did, that I got it done. Because I know that, you know, having projects unfinished it just creates like a weird anxiety, I think, you know.
100%.
Like,
I don't know why, but yeah, I totally agree. But also festivals are weird, where like I think most of them don't accept anything older than a year or two. So sometimes you're actually strategically better off waiting to finish it. So then you just sort of like wait until, you know, the virtual things turned into physical attendances again. And I know for a while I didn't want to do anything over COVID, because I was like, what's the point? Like, even if you get into Sundance, I'm not going to do a Zoom. Like, no.
Exactly. Yeah, literally. It's like, it's like finally you get an opportunity to like go somewhere cool, and then it's like, I'm gonna just be in my room.
Yeah, gosh, that's crazy. So do you still do a lot of acting, or is that something that you've sort of shelved for now?
No, I just do it. I just cameo just occasionally. I very randomly, I was in a Liquorland commercial and made their print. That's because friends of mine who are actors, they were doing a group audition, and they were like, hey, join us. And I was like, whatever. This is, you know, half an hour, this will be fun. And then I ended up booking it, and I was like, oh, crazy. Okay.
Oh, there you
But
go.
acting's not really, yeah, it's not something really that I want to pursue. I want to try and really narrow on the writing and directing and continue editing and, you know, just being behind the camera and creating stories. That's really the goal, and that's really where I see myself.
Yeah, that's great. What were some of the biggest learnings that you had out of making Shambledon and sort of like just constantly being on set, making more short films? What's like some of the juicy bits that you'll take to your next film?
Montage. The use of montage is something, it's crazy. Also, Edgar Wright had this quote. I think it's Edgar Wright, but it was like, come in late to the scene and leave early. So that's something that we really kind of like tried to hone in Shambleton, was like, okay, how can we just come into the scene in a way that's like fun straight away, and how can we deliver all the information that we need and all the plot and the character in a really entertaining way, and then just get out, so that way we can keep it moving. So with one of the older films that I made, you know, I had a dialogue scene that goes for like 6 minutes. And it's like, it didn't have to be 6 minutes. You know, it could have really been cut down. And that's really the biggest thing I learned was like, how can we maximize like efficiency so that we can keep going to you know, maintain engagement? Because now as filmmakers, even though it's a different medium, we are still competing with like TikTok and Instagram and, you know, the short form content that just moves so fast. So it's like, how can movies, I guess, take from that and then apply it to our art medium and our form, and then see how that can help evolve film in some way. So that's a big thing. And then coverage, just making sure that you get like multiple angles of certain things, just so that you give yourself opportunities. You know, like not just getting like like just a normal close-up, getting a close-up in a different angle that dictates for a different meaning. And then getting like some ECUs, getting hand movements, you know, like anything that can help speed up the edit as well and make the cut a bit pacier. And then and also just having fun with it. I think I really the biggest thing was creating an environment for the actors to be able to feel comfortable to play, like because the show is not perfect in any way, shape or form. It was like, there's no wrong or right, just shoot it, try, you know, and at the end of the day, we'll probably end up using it because we're here to have a good time and just try and make something.
That's right. I find that the biggest thing, I think when I was first getting started directing, is like the lack of coverage is the biggest killer in the edit. Because obviously on set, you're like so pressured with time. You've got an AD yelling at you and the lighting team's like, we still need 20 minutes to set up. And so that really does add up. And then you sort of walk away with, oh crap, we didn't get enough. And then sometimes in the edit, you have to use like the longer takes, and it might be slower, and it may feel a little like sort of like slower as a whole thing. So then you might lose attention spans and whatever. You mentioned the TikTok stuff. Obviously, filmmakers need to also compete with everything that's grabbing attention, which is literally just crazy, crazy things. So I feel like these days, I don't know about you, but it feels like film needs to have more cuts in order to sort of keep the attention going. It's just like something that almost needs to be a consideration now. Have you been finding that yourself too?
Totally. Especially I'm editing this TikTok series at the moment, and, you know, pretty much every time someone is talking, we're cutting, and the dialogue is quite quick. So it's always like bang, bang. Like, you know, I remember when I was in film school, they were like, you know, don't always cut when someone's talking, because then it just feels like, but with this kind of editing, with this kind of show, it was like, no, it was like literally as soon as they open their mouth, it's like we're on them, and then we're here, and then we're there, and then we're back. And it's like bang, 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 trying to just so that we can keep the attention span. And I guess audiences have gotten a lot smarter as well with film. You know, the general audience understands film language, even if they haven't studied it, just subconsciously through watching so many. So it's like trying to obviously cater to that as well, and be like, well, the audience isn't as dumb as what they used to be, you know, like the audience is actually crazy smart now. So we got to cater to that intelligence and make sure that they understand. So it is interesting, and then it's changing, and I'm just interested to see how it's going to keep evolving, and how obviously we'll be a part of that.
Yeah, definitely. So with like your own filmmaking opportunities now, you're working on a TikTok series now. Was there other opportunities that came from all of the short films that you've made and sort of the culmination of everything you've done in your career, which wouldn't have been possible if you hadn't taken the leap in making these cool things?
Totally. I mean, I wrote a feature. I wrote a couple of feature scripts during COVID, and I shelved those as well for a little bit. But I've resurfaced them, and one of them in particular, Dinner at Seven, it's gone on to win like best script, best feature screenplay at the Byron Bay International Film Festival. And it's won a couple more awards in France, and now it's with a producer, and we're looking at potentially getting that made. And he's made some movies in America, so we're hoping to see if we can finally get that elusive first feature film made. And if not, we're going to just continue creating our own opportunities in the sense of, we'll see what ends up happening with Shambleton. Maybe we make Shambleton the movie, or or maybe we shelve Shambleton and we try and make an independent thing. So, because with Shambleton, with making the 25 episodes total, we've got about 2 hours and 40 minutes worth of content that's out there. So that's like a long feature film. So if we were to just apply that energy and that same skill set to trying to make a feature film and just make it 1 hour and 40 minutes, we could do that.
Where do you see sort of the opportunities with film? Is it YouTube? Is it TikTok? Is it creating YouTube shorts? Like, where do you sort of see like the next echelon of filmmaking opportunities?
I definitely think that YouTube is a great platform for filmmakers. I think that film is so secret, I think. Obviously you don't want to reveal the story before. And I feel like a lot of people keep their cards close to their chest. They don't want to reveal the secret sauce that they have, even though the secret sauce is literally just keep doing it. The more experience you have, the more you'll learn, the better you'll get at it. I find with filmmaking. But I definitely think that YouTube could be one of those platforms where using it to market your film, in the sense that if you were to create like someone like a vlog essentially of like the process of you making it as you're making it, so it's somewhat live, then you can kind of help build an audience and follow you along in the process of creating the film, obviously without giving too much of the plot. If you're making a whodunit, you don't want to reveal who's done it in the first episode of your YouTube series. But I think that YouTube can kind of be a platform for just really for marketing, more so. I can't imagine movies being on YouTube. Streaming is just too big. With like, Stan, Netflix, all those guys. That's pretty much just like YouTube for movies. But I think that YouTube and TikTok and like Instagram Shorts and just using those platforms to like open yourself up to the world as a filmmaker and letting people into the process a little bit, so that they don't feel so detached. And then, if they get to meet you personally and build a relationship with you personally, I guess they'll follow your journey. And then when the movie comes out, they'll want to watch it because they've seen the videos of you, crying at 3 a.m. because you don't know what the hell you're doing.
I do love that. It's bringing them along for the ride. I think that's so important. Yeah, you're building a sense of community around your filmmaking as well. So that's always very handy too. So Rodrigo, if you had to give a young filmmaker advice, I mean, obviously now you're 10 years into it. What do you wish you knew back then when you were getting started?
I would say the biggest thing would be present when you're making a film. Like, if there is any time, if something doesn't feel right, don't not say anything. Like, be in the moment and try and make it then and there and change. And don't be chained to your script or your ideas. Definitely, it's a collaborative industry. Everyone on that set is a filmmaker, and anyone can throw the idea that could just make it that little bit better. And so I'd say really like be open to collaborating and just be present. Because that's when I feel like that's when you have the best time on set. And then that way you don't get into the edit and you go, damn it, I should have said something.
Exactly. You don't want to have no regrets.
Exactly. I mean, it's hard enough making a movie, so like being able to at least just have fun with the process and then get to the other side and know and be proud of the work that you've made. And then definitely just finishing. That would be another piece of advice. Just whatever you start, finish it, because then that way at least you have the experience of going from start to end. And then next time, if you've just got like, you know, let's say you got 10 films that are half finished.
Yeah.
You never know what it's like to finish one. So then when you finally make something that you like and then you have to get to that end part, you're still inexperienced in that. So I definitely say see your projects all the way through, no matter how terrible you think they are. Just
I love
just
that
see
advice.
them all the way.
I love that. Rodrigo, where can people find you and what have you got coming up next?
So you can find me on Instagram at Rodrigo Badoino, nice and easy. You can find us on YouTube, just at 𝐓𝐘𝐒. You can watch the 25 episodes. We shot episodes in Taiwan and France and stuff as well. That's amazing. So you can watch all that craziness unfold there. Or you could also, if you want to look at like some of the pitch decks for the movies we have, at lecceproductions.com, which is
I'll put all the links
the
down
company.
there.
Thank you. And what do I have coming up next? I think I've got a movie that I'm writing at the moment. Just another spec. You know, I try and write at least one spec every year just to keep the writing juices going.
Nice.
So I'm doing that and then working with this producer to try and hopefully get this movie made. And I don't know, maybe more commercials, more music videos. We'll see what the new year brings, really. I'm just excited to kind of let the year end now. It's been crazy.
Yeah, well, we don't know when this when this episode will go out, but do you have a New Year's resolution that you want to stay true to, keep close to your heart?
Yeah, I wanna. My New Year's resolution is to maintain the community that we've built. I don't want to let the community of filmmakers and actors. I don't want that to fizzle out. I want to keep that community going, and I want to see us all grow together. So that would be my New Year's resolution.
Hell yeah. And well, we look forward to joining your community and having you be part of ours. You're part of the family now. You're part of the family. Rod, it's been awesome talking to you. I love it. You've done such an amazing job with the music videos, working with Ed Sheeran. So thanks so much for sharing your journey with us. And for your listeners out there, go and finish your movie. Whatever you start, make sure to finish it. Thanks again, Rod. And we'll catch you guys in the next one.